Hello everybody out there on the internet. My name is Scott Johnson and I'm starting a video log book of my musical progress and my music. So I'm going to be posting online probably 1 to 2 weeks, every 1 to 2 weeks, to describe what I'm working on and to float some ideas out there onto the internet world. I've been on and off musician for a number of years now, but I wouldn't quite consider myself a professional musician. I just have a lot of practice and good experience with it, and I enjoy playing. It's a passion of mine, and I want to just get this out into the internet world so that people can see what I do, and people can either like it or they can not like it. Irregardless, to me, I still will be passionate about it, and I still like the idea that I now have a webcam so that I can record and put my music out online. Last night was my first night with the webcam, and I recorded for about a half an hour to 45 minutes of music. The recording went quite well. I'm happy with the video that came out, although it took me quite a while to figure out how to upload the conversion file onto the computer. You would think that by now there would be a process that allows you to upload videos quickly without formatting them. And there probably is somewhere online, but I'm new to all this IT and technical side of things. I'm more a musician, so I welcome any feedback if I put a YouTube channel up to what I can do to save time when I'm putting my videos up, and I welcome feedback from anybody who is online, and I welcome other musicians to talk about my music. And an aside here, I'm really just trying to what I'm trying to achieve with this video log is to get myself out into the open so that other musicians out there in the online world can maybe take an interest in me. I can do solo work. I can probably front my own kind of band, although what I'm really passionate about and what I am really seeking is other people who play music, other musicians, bassists, singers, drummers, other guitarists, even any other instruments out there that people play. I'm open to hearing from people like this. I'm excited because a backstory here is I've been working for the last 2 to 3 years just on my kind of formulations of ideas. So I will be posting also videos on my Facebook feed as well, which will be concepts for other band ideas. I'll be posting them on a Sway format or a Sway program that people can also read throughout the upcoming year, and I welcome anybody online to look at those, and I look forward to the year ahead, and I'm happy to know that I am capable of doing this. It's been a long time coming for me to get this up and running. I'm not very technical, and the technical side of things is something that some people are really natural at, but I will say it's taken a long time for me to get to where I am now. Not musically, but internet-wise and IT-based, it's really taken me a long time to get running like this. I've had data files on my phone for about 6 years of old practice footage of me that I will be uploading on those Sway files, or Sway program. But all that stuff is secondary to what is kind of other ideas that I'm working on. The stuff from 6 years ago is all practice, and the stuff that I posted last night on Facebook is really just concepts for new albums that I'll be working on, and they're just concepts right now. But I know that they're good formulations into the writing process. I'm writing quite a lot lately. I'm writing probably a little too quickly. I'd like to be able to slow down and just play a little less and be a little bit more passionate about my music. I find that about once every month or so I sit down and I play by feel. I play from the feeling of how I want to play. And then the other about 85% of the time I'm just kind of writing or trying to adapt maybe certain songs that I'm working on. So what I'd like to do is about once to every month or so I would like to include these maybe practice sessions online, and they'll be of longer content. Some of them will just be of me doing rhythm backing, and then some of them will be of me doing voice and rhythm, and then some of them will be of me doing instrumental stuff. So a combination of drum, harmonium, and guitar, or guitar and vocal tracking. So this is exciting for me, and some people may laugh and say, "Oh, this is not what you call mastered music." But I know somewhere down the road this could get to good things. And I'm positive about what I know musically. I'm positive about my ideas, and I'm happy to have all this technical side of things kind of in place. To backtrack even more here, the last 3 years musically have been really good for me. So there's about 3 years in here that's not video logged prior to me getting to just this state right now. And that's kind of funny when I think about it. People would think, oh, this guy's been playing for 3 years and he's never uploaded anything. But all those concepts and all that practice work is kind of like just good feedback for what I'm leading into next. And there's some concepts in there that are actually quite good in that 3-year time span. I spent about the first year of my writing just farting around with my sound. I just tried to get my sound down as best I could, and I was very unsuccessful for the better part of, 3 to 6 months. I was really stifled by getting my sound down. And then about 3/4 of the way to halfway through the year of my first year, I managed to get the sound how I wanted, and it sounded really good. I will say I was very proud of it at the time. I was happy to know that I could do the low-tech sound that I was doing. I was happy with it. Then I played a couple of gigs on that sound, and it sounded pretty good. I think it sounded good. I'm happy with what I achieved. Then I started into my second year. In my second year, I got my sound down again, but it was a little more challenging. Getting back to all the technical stuff, which I would really like to hand over to somebody else. I'd like to hand over all of the sound stuff to somebody who's good at what they do. I'm okay and I can get by with what I know, but I would really, really like if somebody, whoever sees this online, can take an interest in possibly furthering my capabilities through their skills. Because I have skills, I've developed my skills musically, but I know that just a little bit of something here, a little bit of something there, can change a lot of how stuff sounds. So I welcome that, and my second year was filled with a lot of kind of tweaking and recalibrating. I also worked on a number of hands-on projects on the equipment that I have. I have a number of different pieces of equipment that for a long time didn't operate very well for me. They were kind of like hand-me-down instruments that I didn't know what to do with, because I was an amateur musician whenever I acquired them, and for a long time I didn't have time to work on them. I didn't have time to work on these instruments because I held down 2 jobs. I held down 60-hour work weeks, and I was too busy for music. So leading up to this 3-year time period was kind of difficult, because I didn't think for a long time that I could do certain things musically. I had this kind of block. I had this block in my way of what I could do musically, and finally in about 2013 or 2014 I said, I'm just going to devote as much energy and as much time as I possibly can to better myself musically. So I went back and I relearned all of these things that musically I didn't think I could do before. I learned how to read sheet music, how to read tablature, how to do all the setup of sound, how to record myself and then post it online, and also sing. I learned to sing in this time period, which for a long time I didn't think I could do either. I didn't think I could sing, but somehow I managed to talk myself into learning music, learning how to perfect music, and then I learned how to use my voice. So this second year was a big breakthrough for me as well. I could hardly believe some of the progress I had in this time. I also struggled a bit too with some of the hands-on stuff. There was, getting back to the instruments that I had, there's 4 pieces of instruments that I have, and I've really only ever bought one of them. And the first instrument that I was given to me by my brother. It was an electric Peavey Strat, which is like it's like I guess a a remake of the Fender Strat, but it's a cheaper version. Like Peavey is cheaper than Fender. It's not as high quality, and I'm kind of glad it's not high quality because it's allowed me to experiment with it a bit more so than I would if I had something that was in the hundreds to thousands of dollars range. But my brother gave me that guitar probably about 10 years ago, and for the first 4 years it kind of just sat around. I played it a bit. It didn't sound very good. I was frustrated because I didn't have time to spend on it. And I'm glad he gave me that though, because the second year I got into trying to get all my guitars down to functioning levels, because they were sitting around and they were not kind of the way that a musician would leave them. You know, they were sitting around, old sets of strings on them, a little bit dusty, weren't well maintained. One of the nuts on the electric Peavey that my brother gave me basically broke somehow. I don't know if it was broken when I got it or if it was broken during one of the moves or something, but I spent the better part of 2 days reinstalling the nut on the guitar. I had to shim a piece of wood and glue it in behind the nut, along with the actual plastic piece that holds the strings in place. It was a lot of work. I was frustrated doing it, but it functions, and I'm glad that I put the energy into doing that, because it's forcing myself to learn how to do things that I used to be uncomfortable doing. So people talk about getting outside of your comfort zone and getting used to sometimes people get too used to doing things that they're too good at, and then it gets random. So what I'm learning to do is do things that are not random, but that are within my skill level as a hands-on guy. So that was one of the instruments. It took a lot of work. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. The saddles on the bridge are finicky. You have to fart around with them. It's not really meant for heavy-handed guitar players like me, but it's kind of nice for somebody who's learning. It's probably good for somebody who has kind of light dexterity in their hands, or delicate touch with their hands, and I'm happy with it. It's functioning after 8 years of sitting around not functioning. The amp I have, though, that my brother gave me 8 years ago is not functioning. It functions. It has a short in it somehow. I don't know how that happened either. I don't know, like maybe in the move, or maybe me just lugging it around from place to place that I've lived in. It might be in need of some TLC from somebody who's electrical. So that's another thing I'd like to learn down the road, is the electrical side of all of the amplifiers and sound stuff. I'd like to be able to learn that one day, and I think I'm capable to. But for now, the amp just comes out about once every couple of years. I lug it out because I'm sick of hearing acoustic stuff, and that's another thing. I want to work towards electric set, which is pretty easy to do. I just don't have the money right now to sit down with electrical equipment and spend time relearning how to perfect the sound with that, because that takes a while too. As much as it took a while to do my low-tech sound, it's going to take a while to do my electric sound too. Getting back here again to the instruments. So I had 4 pieces of instruments. The first one was given to me by my brother 8 years ago. The second one was given to me about 7 years ago for my 30th birthday. And at the time, I was living away from home, and I was working on my own, and living in a not so great place, and working my buns off in 2 different jobs. So to celebrate my 30th, my family came all the way up to where I was in Peterborough, and had dinner with me, and we had a good night out. That was a nice celebration for my 30th. And I was really surprised to know that my family got me a guitar. So this is a funny story. So just think of this. At the time, I was not practicing music. I was kind of just working and getting by and sticking with my work and practicing what I practiced in school. And so I got a guitar, and at first I was like, oh man, this is weird, I don't even play anymore, it's a guitar. And I was kind of unappreciative of the fact that it was an instrument. I was kind of like, oh great, an instrument, maybe my family doesn't know me after all. But flash forward 6 years later, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that I have that instrument. It's a Yamaha acoustic electric guitar, and I've done a lot of work with that. At first couple years, I sounded like crap. I'll be honest, I didn't sound very good the first couple of times I used that instrument. I sounded very amateur. I sounded a little bit like a hippie or something on it, which isn't such a bad thing, but it's not 1960 anymore, right? So I did a lot of work on that. I farted around with strings on it. At first I paid to have people string it for me, and I did that about 3 or 4 times, and I said, this is ridiculous. I can't be paying somebody to do that when I can easily learn how to do it myself. So I went through a lot of work with that. That's kind of how I got my voice down, by using the Yamaha and calibrating the strings how I wanted, and I learned to play stuff like Neil Young on that, like Bob Dylan. I even practice so much on that one guitar. It's kind of like my number 1 now, even though it's an acoustic. It's still like my number 1 guitar. And then so I farted around with a lot of stuff. Recently I put a bridge in it. I sanded a bridge down because the bridge that's in it is an arched bridge in it, and I figured it's a little too technical for how I play. It's not quite as heavy as what I want out of it sometimes. It's a little high end. So I put a bridge in that a while back, and it sounded like good, except for I couldn't get the E in. I couldn't get the high E would not resonate. It was like a muted string on it. So I played like one set on that, and then I swapped back in the arched bridge on it. But it functions, and I'm happy with how it works. It's just I'm always farting around with new ways to do things. I'm always trying to do different things musically. So that's my second guitar that I owned. First one was a Peavey Fender kind of fake Strat, and then the second one was the Yamaha acoustic electric. It's black. And then the third one that I got was one I bought at a secondhand store here in Renfrew. It's very it was a very spur of the moment thing when I bought it. At first I played it in the store and I thought, wow, this sounds good, man. Like I was playing, I think Stevie Ray Vaughan on it or something, and I was thinking, this has got kind of a nice sound. So I waited about a week or so, and I had a little bit of savings at the time, or a week or two I think, and I had a bit of savings, and I went in and I bought it. I bought this guitar. It's just another acoustic, and it's kind of like I don't know, more like a kid's acoustic, like one you see that you used to be able to buy with like a cowboy hat or like cowboy boots. They used to have these things for sale back in the 70s. I think you could buy a guitar with like a cowboy hat and boots, and there'd be these like not miniature guitars, but like kind of smaller size guitars. The make is called an Avarex, and I liked it because it was a little more tonal than my high-end Yamaha, and I played it for about 2 weeks, and I was playing kind of like jug band blues on it with the harp or the harmonica and the guitar, and it sounded pretty good. But about 2 weeks after I bought it, the bridge went out on me. The bridge, all the strings started to recess into the bridge, like they collapsed right into the bridge. So at first I was angry. I thought, like, what can I do about this? What can I do about this? I just bought it. It's brand new. I paid like $100 and some odd for it, and that was a little bit more than I would have liked to have spent on something like that. But I had a good feeling about it. I thought, oh, this has kind of got a nice sound. So I swapped the bridge out, and it took me a long time to recalibrate all the strings on it. I had Martin SP11s, I think, that I bought when I was in Europe on it, and it sounded really good. I was writing on it, I was performing on it, and then the bridge went on me. So I was a little bit of bad luck with that, but flash forward a year and a half later, and I have the bridge how I want it. I think it's going to be a good guitar to maybe use in a studio maybe. I wouldn't perform with it live, but I would record with it. That's one of the ones I recorded yesterday with online. And I'm happy with it, even though it's not how it was when I first bought it. I'm happy what I've put into it. There's a lot of TLC went into that that guitar, and a lot of my hands-on went into honing the skills that I have on a guitar like that. So I'm happy with that. I'm really excited that it's functioning, and there'll be more writing on it. There'll be more strings that'll have to go on it eventually, and more stuff down the road. You'll see from that. It's a light brown small Avarex with some other stuff on it, like stickers. I stuck some stickers on it just for the fun of it, and you'll probably see that in the footage at some time. And then the fourth guitar that I acquired was recently. My dad moved back to the area where I'm from. He used to live away from me for a number of years. We lived hours apart, and we saw each other once in a blue moon. But he had bought a guitar when he was living in Kingston at a guitar shop there. I think I went to this guitar shop with him a couple of times. It's right downtown in downtown Kingston. And some of the stuff in there is kind of vintage. It's more like custom stuff. It's a little too high end for me to buy in there. But my dad bought a guitar there to play with. Because my dad used to play as a young man. And we've played on that guitar and the Avarex a couple of times here. We sat down and just played acoustic stuff, and it's fun for me to do that. It's fun for me to play on these guitars with my dad because he's got a totally different perspective and totally different style than I do. Stylistically, he's different, and he comes from a different kind of era of music. So I welcome all that musically as well too. I welcome all different styles and unique ways of playing. And there's guitar teachers will tell you there's a right and wrong way to play the guitar, but I just think there's no wrong way to play it. People just have to get over the fact that sometimes things happen musically that you wouldn't expect if you're not too pragmatic about it. If you're not always trying to play perfectly all the time, stuff comes up. Like you'll have a mistake here or a mistake there, and it will turn into something totally different. That happens to me in the writing process too, where sometimes the outcome is not what you expect, but it's so different and such a mistake that it makes for great things. So I'm happy to know that I can learn from people like my dad musically, which I didn't know for a long time that you could do. Anyways, he brought this guitar with him that it's smaller than the Avarex. It's more like a classical classical framing guitar, or something you would see in like a church, or played in like trios or quartets or quintets or something. So at first when I played it, I thought, oh man, like it was just giving me bad vibes. I was thinking, oh, this is from Kingston, it's high end, it's worth too much money, and it's too small for my hands. The frets are too small, the sound is too high end, and I was kind of grumpy about it. I was thinking, why is this here, man? I don't want it here. I don't like playing it. It doesn't sound right. The setup is wrong on it. And it was giving me the bad feels. I will say I was getting some bad mojo from it or something, right? So flash forward half a year later, and I recalibrated all the bridge on that as well. I spent a lot of work doing hands-on work in these last year to year and a half, and I basically strung it once, and it sounded okay, but one of the strings was the G string, I think, on it was basically an add-in. So there was one extra string on it that wasn't the same as the rest of the 6 strings. So you could tell when you'd play it, you'd hit the G string and it would be like a medium range string, and the rest would be high. So the start of this year, which was a couple weeks ago, I went back and strung all 3 of the guitars. So I keep on getting different sounds out of when I string, but I really only have about 2 of the strings down that are what I would go to each time to play on. So talking about strings, I had originally, when I got the sound out of the Yamaha, I had I think 11s, and they were Martins, but when I bought the package of them, they were I think phosphorus bronze, but when I bought the package to replace them, I got a set of 8020s, and oh man, it didn't sound right. So I didn't go back to the Martins because I couldn't figure out what brand they were, and I went back to a set of Elixir 11s, which are these, I think, Nanotech ones is what it says on the package. And it sounds okay. It's still a little high end, but I really like the Martins that were on there. I just can't figure out what brand they were, because when I bought them, the package was a complete white package. There was nothing else on the label or anything. It just said Martins on the inside with the wraps, and then it was white on the outside. So I got that the first year that I had my sound down. That's what I had down for about a year, and it sounded really good. So what I'd go back to is the Martins on that. I think they're possibly 11s, maybe 12s. I'm not sure though. I think they're phosphor bronze that were on there before. And then the Avarex has had a set of, like I said before, Martin SP 11s, and they are I think they're called Special Lights or something. And I bought those when I was in I think Belfast in Ireland, or Dublin. In a little music store I was in there, I bought a set of strings, 2 of them, and one of them went on, and one of them I didn't like, so I took off. But they were also, the second set that I brought back from Europe was also ones that were ones that were sold in Canada, so there wasn't much different. But the Special Lights here I can't find. When I went back to go restring the Avarex in the new year, there was only 13s in the Martins. They're SPs and they're 13s, but I'm sure I have the package here that the Special Lights were 11s that I was on before, and they sounded really, really good, and that's what I'll go back to too. So to recap here, it would be Martins, maybe 11 or 12s, I think phosphor bronze on the Yamaha, and SP 11 Lights Martins at the Avarex. And then I have I have a set on a Cort too that my dad gave me, the guitar. They are I think JS16s or JP16s, and they are about as high end as I would want to go on there. Because I don't play that Cort very much, it's just kind of a learner guitar again. Some of these guitars are just for learning people, and some of them are low tech, and the only really high end one is the Yamaha that I own. So back to strings. There's the Martin 11s, then the Martin SP 11s, the special lights, and then the JS16s or JP16s. They also call them 1014s, I think, or something. And then on my Peavey electric, there is a set of Ernie Ball 11s. But I'd like to also, as much as I'm going down in size on the acoustic, I'd like to go up in size on the electric to get a little heavier sound and a little more grind out of my strings. So that's been the last 3 years, basically, is all that work that's gone into that prior to me posting this video. So that's just a little bit about what I've been up to musically, and I'm excited to see what happens in the future. I know that if I get in with the right group of people, it can be really fulfilling, and that's my main goal, is to just get out and play more with people and accept other musicians into my world is going to be what I look forward to. And I'm excited to know that I can do all this back side of things too, where I can do a lot of the technical setup, like with the webcam. I can do the low-tech setup of the guitars. I can upload these sway presentations online for concepts of bands, and I can do all this other stuff now that I used to have hang-ups about. I used to say, oh well, I can't do that, but I'm in 2017. I can do almost anything I want, because I can post videos, I can post presentations, I can post video logs onto YouTube, I can even post stuff onto Twitter if I want, and I'll be doing that, but I want to just keep my playing to a minimum so that when I perform I can get it down on video. I want to perform like I said, once to every 2 months, where I sit down and actually use any format of instrumental or voice or just rhythmic stuff. So I'm very excited about 2017, and in the past 2 weeks of the start of the year I've done more stuff to better my musical situation than I have in the last 10 years. There's really only about 2 or 3 years in here that I would consider tough going, and that's just the start in for me. The start in was about 2 or 3 years of starting to this, and it may not look like much, but over the next year you're going to hear a lot from me. You're going to hear a lot about me, and I hope I get some feedback. I hope I get some good news from people, and I'm very excited to be online. And thank you everybody for taking time to listen to this long edit. but I'll cut things back substantially from here on in. And thanks, and I welcome everybody into my online world. Thank you for your time, and have a good day.